going on, fellow alchemists? Welcome to Astrology. Today we're going into the depths. We are going deep. We're going dark. But we bring in the light with us. We're doing the sun in the 8th house. Join me. Let's just get on with it. So the sun in the 8th house. What does the sun do in the 8th house? Well, firstly, what does the 8th house represent? It's all about your inheritance. It's all about things you possess. It's all about death. It's about sex, but not necessarily sexual creativity, but the sexual act, the way you initialize sex. It's also about the deeper, more profound things that otherwise aren't necessarily on the surface, but always kept down below. So the 8th house, as you know, is ruled over by Scorpio. And a lot of YouTube astrologers, not all, but a lot, will come in and talk about the 8th house and try to make it seem light-hearted. They'll come and tell you about how it exudes all the magnetic influences and the beauty and sexual divinity and the wondrous transformation that takes place in the 8th house. And they'll make it sound good. They'll make it sound wonderful, delightful, slightly mysterious, but enjoyable. But they're not doing any justice to the 8th house, because to be light-hearted with the 8th house is to be dishonest about the 8th house. Yes, the 8th house has some real impact in our lives and some positive traits, and real positive. I'm not talking about superficial, but real, authentic, positive influences in your life. However, you cannot just be positive, in particular with this house, in particular with the sign of Scorpio. So the 8th house in esoteric and theosophical literature talks about how the 8th house is the point in the chart where death and decay happen. Death and decay. It is not a light-hearted part of the chart. It is all about transformation through your death and then through the decay of the body and transforming it into something more useful for the universe to utilize. This doesn't necessarily have to mean a physical death, but it can mean a spiritual death. It can mean the death of the personality and ego death. So always just consider that the 8th house is not a light-hearted house, as many astrologers will come in, and a lot of them on YouTube come in, oh guys, this is a wonderful exuding house. It's a beautiful house. And it has its beauty, yes. It has its beauty. But it is also very deep and very dangerous. It is where the alchemist comes in, the occultist comes in, and actually performs the process of transmuting lead into gold. Lead is the gold of the earth. It's a combination of mercury mixed up with gold. That's what the Egyptians believed it as. But the alchemist separates the mercury through thought and then extracts the gold. So this is the point of the alchemist. This is the point of the occultist. This is the point where you go in and you perform the alchemical process of transmutation. And you formulate the alchemical child that follows thereafter. So the sun in the 8th house, what happens when we bring the sun in here? Remember, the sun is all about the beacon of light in our chart. It's our true ego. It's who we really are in this life. It explains the individuality aspect in regards to where the personality can interact with the individual. So at this point, we're talking about someone who specializes in this area. Somebody who might have preferences towards being an occultist. Someone who might have preferences towards being an alchemist or astrology, involved in the occultic sciences, theosophy, things that are hidden, not deliberately, but perhaps just maybe forgotten about. Because the sun brings interest into this area. The sun brings its radiant light, its illumination. So people with their sun in this area of the chart will be really good at aspects and dealings regarding the 8th house. A lot of the time they exude sexuality, but this is not Libran sexuality or Taurian sexuality. This is deep, terrifying, femme fatale type of sexuality. This is the deep part of the chart. This is where Pisces is the deepest part. That's the Marianas Trench. But this is the middle of the ocean where all the currents come together. This is where it's dark, but it is tumultuous. There is chaos here. And that is the energy that we see simmering underneath the surface of people who have the 8th house, the sun in the 8th house. The 8th house is also about things that we extract that are hidden because they are meant to be hidden. So as I've mentioned previously, the occult. And the sun just gives you that ability to extract all that information, to find and hover over specific topics involved in the 8th house, and with the sign of Scorpio as well, being the ruler of the 8th house. And you're more able to find comfort within the 8th house, where most people might be quite terrified. And by most people, I mean people who go and look on mainstream commercial astrology and think Scorpio is just a slightly emo version of what Scorpio actually really is. Scorpio is the most powerful, most dangerous, most transformative sign in the zodiac, and it is for a reason. It is for a reason. It is the only zodiac sign that actually, when you look up into the sky towards this constellation of Scorpius, actually looks like a scorpion. There's a reason for that. And I dare you to go and read up on theosophical and esoterical literature on that. So with the sun here, you become very interested in those topics. You become very skilled in those topics. You are very good at acquiring resources that are hidden. You go and look at things and find places where a lot of people otherwise wouldn't look. You're not scared to go into the morose and the terrifying and the gory and the violent and the, you're happy there. It is tumultuous and it is scary, but you're happy there because you're able to extract that. So fellow alchemists, I hope I did justice to this deep and very profound part of the chart. Please don't forget to subscribe, drop a like if you like this video, drop something in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time when I do the sun in the 9th house. Until then, take care of yourself, stay well.